Hi, welcome back to the lesson number 3. So in this lesson we are going to look at the topic called pointers in C++. So pointers in C++ is a really powerful and fundamental concept, but they can be a bit confusing for the beginners. You will often come across different people and different students that will always talk about pointers and their confusions with this topic in C or C++ language. So in this tutorial, we are going to look at the basics level and then we will gradually move towards the advanced level topic related to the pointers. So let's define the pointer. A pointer is a variable that stores the memory address of another variable instead of directly storing the data. A pointer stores the location where the data is stored in the memory. See, you have seen in the previous examples when we declare a variable such as integer, let's say num1. So it was stored directly in a memory. But on the other hand, pointer is a bit of different story, and let's visualize it with our writing pad. So let's go. So let's have a look. Pointers in C++. Now what happens whenever we declare a variable? So let's say I have declared a variable of int type, okay, and we know integer normally take place up to 4 bytes. So this is our memory. Let's say this is our memory and these are some spaces in the memory, okay. Now let's say this is the place where the integer variable has been stored. So let's say I will write this place as variable. Now variable is placed here and this variable has some kind of address, like let's say BEXF00. let's say this is just a random address assigned by me to this memory block. Now if I say that this memory block has an address of BEXF00, so let's talk about what is happening within this memory allocation. Now if I say this is integer data type, now it means that it has 4 bytes. So 1 byte, 2 byte, 3 byte and 4 byte, and each byte has its individual address. Let's say it is BEXF00, same but 01, same but 2, same but 3. Now this is the whole data storage visualization. If I see that variable is stored in memory, so it is stored in this order. It took the place of 4 bytes within the memory and each byte has its individual address. Okay, now let's talk about pointer. When we talk about pointer, we say that it points towards the address of memory allocated. So let's say that this is our memory and the variable is stored here and there is some kind of address, okay, there is some address, any address, okay. Now the pointer will point towards this address and store this address value. When we say that it has the access to the address of the location, if we change the value or alter the value within the pointer, so wherever this variable is located, it will be changed and it will be accessed. So the concept to understand in this is that each individual variable stored in memory has its address. So we will visualize this and understand this concept that whenever we store a variable, this is the variable and this is its address, okay. Now we have address. So now let's go into the compiler and see the syntax for it, that how we can access the address and how we assign and declare pointers. Let's have a look. let's talk about the syntax for pointers. So just a normal program to start, hash include iostream using name space std int main, and let's have a look. Now if I revise the concept of a normal variable, we declare it like integer variable, and this is it. So this is just a normal variable. Okay, now if I say I want a pointer to this variable, and remember one point, whenever you are initializing or declaring a pointer, so use that type of pointer to which you are pointing towards. Okay, so for example, I want a pointer for this variable, so this is integer type data, so I will declare integer type pointer. So pointer syntax is like this. Okay, so I will zoom it in. So this is the syntax used to declare a pointer. Okay, so this now means that it is a pointer and it is pointing to nothing right now. So it is a good practice to point a pointer to null. Okay, always. The reason for it that you do not want any kind of memory disturbance. So whenever you declare a new pointer, so point it towards null, so there is no issue within the problem you may face. Okay, so now let's see that how do we point the pointer to the address of this variable. Now there is this AND symbol that you may have seen, this symbol. This is used to show or represent the address of variable. So what we want is to store the address of variable. So what we can do here is we can say that ptr, it is a pointer, and initialize it with the address of var. You see this? Now this pointer is pointing towards the variable. Now let's have a value in it. You will understand this by this example. Now let's print out this, and we will say that print ptr. So what do you expect to see result? I expect an address of this variable. So let's see the output. Now this you can see a random hexadecimal kind of value is there, and it is representing an address. Okay, so we have got the idea. So now you remember, as I told you in my visualization on writing pad, that pointer points towards the address, and we have seen in the definition as well that it can only store the address of variable. Now if I want to print the address only of variable without the pointer, I can say that AND var. Okay, so this will have the same output as the above. Okay, let's have a look. Now as you guys can see that it can do this, and remember one more thing, that pointer cannot point to just variable. So if you want to store the variable directly in it, so this will give you an error. Why? Because we read in the definition that pointer can only store the address of variable. So in order to store the address, we will use this AND symbol. Okay, now let's move towards the another syntax or another example that is called accessing the value. Okay, now if you have a pointer, so just run this program. Sweet. Okay, so if you have a situation that you want to access the value that is stored on the address, for example, there was some address. Okay, so we will comment this as address. Okay, now I want the value at address. Okay, now if you want the value at address, The simple way is the old school method that we have studied in the beginning. So this is the value and this is the address. Now, but what's the point of using pointer if I am using the already declared variable? I should use the pointer to access this value. Now let's see that. Now, until now, we have stored an address of variable within our PTR pointer. Okay. Now, the PTR pointer is pointing towards, I will just representing it here. PTR is pointing towards war. Okay. PTR is pointing towards the war. Now, what it does that whenever I print the PTR, it will show the address. Okay, so address of variable. But now I want to perform some kind of operation or for any other purpose, I want to access the value stored at this address. Now, let's see how we can access that value. So, see out, we will use the dereferencing concept or accessing the value concept. So, we will say this star and PTR. Okay, and we'll just print this. Now, we expect to see 10 at the output screen, and as you can see, we have got 10. And there is another thing that you may have noticed, that this address is not constant, it's not fixed. It's changing each and every time. So wherever it finds a place in RAM, it will store its data. So for that reason. Now let's talk about a character variable. Now if I have, let's say, the same thing goes for character, will it give me an error? Because we studied a concept. Okay, so character var is equals to, let's say, A. Now let's see what will happen. There is an error. Why there is an error? Because we are using integer pointer and that is pointing towards the character. And we already discussed it that we must use the kind of pointer that pointing towards the data type. So what we will do here is we will use character and PTR. Okay, and sorry, not just PTR but star PTR is equals to null. So if you don't write null, it's not an issue, but it's a good and best thing to do, best practice to do, because you do not want any kind of error in program. Now it runs and there is some sort of value, whatever it is. It's just a random value. Okay, now that we have got each and everything sorted out and we have got the concept of pointers basic and basic syntax. So now let's discuss about what can be the difference between pointer variable and a simple variable. Now if I say there is a copy, for example, you will learn copy, okay, copy concept and address concept. Okay, so what happens in copy concept? Whenever we say integer a, okay, now what is integer a? Integer a is some kind of variable. Is some kind of variable that is at the value of 10. Now if I say there is another integer, integer b, and I assign the value of a into b. Okay, now if I redefine the b with 11, and let's print out a and b. Let's print out a and b. A we will have b here. Okay, now let's print out b. So A is 10 and B is 11. So the change in B didn't affect the A because the copy of A was created within B. The B was not given an access to A. Now if I say star B, it is a pointer which is pointing towards the address. Now it has the reference to A. Now let's see what will be the output. Okay, oh, sorry, because you cannot directly say the, so if you want to access the value at B, you will use this. Okay, so okay, so what's happening here? Okay, we want the star B. We want the star B. Now see, this is the concept I wanted to tell you about, and it will be very useful for the future videos when we will learn about functions and pass by values and pass by reference, that kind of concept. And this is going to be a really useful concept. So let me just repeat that for you once again. So what's happening here? That there are two kind of concepts. One is copy concept and another is a reference or address concept. What happens in a copy concept when we create a variable and we just copy the element of A into B? So what happens that B does not have access to A, but B has the copy of A. What we say? B has no access to A, but B has a copy of A. So any change that take place within B will not affect the A variable. So let's see the output on the screen. And as we can see that B was given the copy of A, but then rewritten and overridden the initial value, and it was changed to 11, but it did not affect the value of A. Now let's see another approach that is called address concept, or maybe you can say the reference concept, in which we create a simple pointer that is pointing towards the address of A. Now this statement means that it is the reference concept. Now B has the access to the address of A. So any kind of change that take place within B will be seen into A. Now let's demonstrate our concept. Now to access the value, because we want to change the value, okay, this is what is going to happen. This is what is going to happen. Now you can see both the values are changed. Why? Because B had the address and access to the memory allocation of A. So whatever we changed the B in, it was seen within A. So this was a simple difference between a simple variable and a pointer change. Now let's move towards our another simple example. Now let's say there is something that is called increment and decrement. You already know it, but let me just remind you. So increment is increase the value, decrement, decrease the value. Got you? Okay, got it? So increment increase the value, or decrement decrease the value. So we normally say A plus plus, or we say that A minus minus. Okay, and it can be 2, 3, whatever you want to increment or decrement. But generally, just with in normal situation, it is 1, 1. Okay, now let's have a look. What if I tell you that integer A, there is an integer A which has the value of 10, and then there is integer ptr, or maybe I can say star B, which is pointing towards the address of A. Now what will happen? See out, and I will print the B. Okay, just for demonstration purpose, I will just print B for now. What is it? So remember, there is some kind of relation is going to be. Okay, so this is the address. See, this is what? This is the address. Now, what will happen if I write B plus plus? So think about it. What will happen? Will it increase the value of 10 or will something else happen? And we can just print the C out. We will print A here as well. Okay, so let's print A as well here and let's see. What's happening? What's the error here? Oh, sorry. What's happening here? 10 and there is something else going on. So didn't happen anything. Did it affect 10? But if you want to increment the value, first you have to access it. Okay, so you will say this, then let's see what happens. You can see there is 11. Okay, so now what we did is that we incremented the value in this manner, as we have demonstrated in our previous example as well. But what if I want to have another address or next address to the star B? Let's have a look. So if I say plus 1 or plus 2, now what is happening? There is some difference between these two addresses. Now this is the same B that we were dealing with, the same address of A, but the addresses are different, just with the slight increase of value. So what happened here? That we know that within the memory, what's happening, that variable is an integer, so it take place of 4 bytes. So we say these are 4 bytes. Okay, so this is what happening. Now next to memory, there will be something else. So if the address of this is a, let's say, address is a 000, then the next address after 000 will be, in case of integer, it will be 0, 0, what? 0, 1, 2, 3. So that is going to be 4. Because the difference between two memory allocation will be 4 bytes. But if it was a character value, let's say at 004 the value store was a character. So let's say this was an int data type, and here we have character data type. Okay, so character stores 1 byte of memory, take 1 byte of memory. So what will happen after 004? There will be 005. Okay, so because as we said early that every integer take place up to 4 bytes. When it take place to up to 4 bytes, every byte has its own address. So 00, 01, 02, 03. So this is 4 bytes, then after that 04 is another byte and another location. So this was a little concept which will be helpful in pointers and arrays concept. So I hope you guys have understood the basics of pointers. So to summarize the whole logic and the whole lecture, we can say that pointer is such kind of variable that can only store the address of another variable, and we can have the access of those values via the address of that variable. Plus, you can have pointer to pointer as well. So you can say that star C is pointing towards the address of B. So that will be a double pointer. So star star C. So double pointers are also available. But for now, for basics, let's just digest these concepts. And in the part second, we will talk about some more interesting concepts related to pointers. Until then, thanks